it's difficult to pitch, and it's difficult to pitch especially if it's something technical. It's wildly more difficult when you are pitching to a distracted audience, which we all are nowadays. So what we're doing here is we're giving 3 companies an opportunity to pitch in a large format. They're going to pitch something technical, but we're only going to give them 5 minutes, like a real 5 minutes, a real gong show 5 minutes. Do we have a buzzer for if we go over 5 minutes? Well, we'll get that. You can do it while I'm talking, by the way. So they're going to be aware of how much time they have to do the pitch. And they are going to be answering 4 questions during their pitch. What problem you are solving, how they're solving it, what makes them different, and one key takeaway for the audience. And so when they've concluded their pitch, we have a cross-section of this audience, and they are going to be on stage, and we're going to bring them up right now. We have Ellen Puckett, the VP of Quality Assurance and Release for Oppenheimer Funds. Let's hear it for Ellen. Ashley Sprague, Head of IT at Quora. Hello, Ashley. Edward Janowiak, Director of Engineering from Charter Communications. Thank you, Edward. Now, I know this looks like the dating game. It is not the dating game. Okay. So at the end of the 5 minutes, the cross-section of the audience represented on stage, each of these technology leaders are going to ask the presenter one question, and the presenter is going to answer it, and then they're going to move off stage, and we're going to see our next presenter, which is represented by these question marks. So we're all going to see 3 presentations, 3 new technologies. And at the end, yes, we're going to ask the audience to pull out their phone. You're going to go to this app on our Evolve app, and you're going to choose a winner of the pitch. You guys are choosing the best pitch that you heard. And by picking them, we've all agreed to go back and listen to a WebEx that's going to have a 30-minute deep dive on this technology. Yes, we're going to give them longer than 5 minutes to pitch. You guys choose the winner. So let's get started. The first technology we're going to see is from a company called ThoughtSpot, and presenting is Scott Holden. Scott, come on up here, buddy. And there you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just roll. All right, hello everybody. So over the last 10 years, a ton of noise has been made about big data and the challenge of big data scale. And now at ThoughtSpot, we like to think about this challenge of scale from a slightly different perspective. We call it human scale. In other words, how do you get more people access to more data to do their job on a day-to-day basis? Not just as a passive consumer of a dashboard that someone else built for them, but actually doing their own analysis. And for those of you who don't know ThoughtSpot, we're a 5-year-old company, and we've been selling to the large enterprises and mid-markets in the world. In fact, 30% of our customer base is Fortune 500. Some names you might know like Walmart, Caterpillar, Amgen, Wells Fargo, Qualcomm, and we're lucky enough to be working with their CIOs and their CDOs and their heads of business units to help their employees make faster decisions. Now, if you look at the analytics market, it's massive. $70 billion a year are spent on analytics technology. Yet, we've got an industry with only 22% adoption rate. That means 1 out of 5 people actually uses the software that they've purchased. And the reason why is that this technology is really hard to use. There's been a ton of advancements, there's powerful things, lots of bells and whistles, but you've got to be an expert, or as we like to call them, a data ninja, to be able to use them. Even the easiest technology on this slide, Tableau, if you went to their website right now, their beginner training class is 3 days long. 3 days. That is not easy to use. And what it's done is it's created a massive bottleneck in our industry. You've got a very small number of data experts, the ninjas, in the middle. McKinsey estimates this number at 1.5 million. It takes about 5 days to build a new custom report or dashboard, and you've got over 1 billion knowledge workers waiting for answers. And so this is the problem that we set out to solve at ThoughtSpot. And our inspiration starts here with the power and simplicity of search, Google. I'm sure everybody in the room today, over the last 24 hours, has used some kind of search engine. And now, over 2 billion people use search, whether it's to find a flight on Kayak, a restaurant on Yelp, a book on Amazon, a person on LinkedIn, or trade a stock on Schwab. You all are in the driver's seat. You can do this without having to go to an expert. Because I can assure you, if you had to go to a 3-day training class to use Google, there would not be 2 billion people using it today. And that's what we've done. We've taken the power and simplicity of search and brought it to the world of data analytics. And we've built this world's first relational search engine for data. Makes it easy for anybody to use search to ask a question and get back a chart or a report. Think of it like Google for numbers. You can search across billions of rows, analyze lots of different data sources. It's super fast, just like Google. It's in memory, so you get real response as you type sub-second. And then lastly, it's got built-in enterprise class governance and security, down to the group, column, row, cell level security. And it's this relational search technology that's powering our next generation analytics platform. Any data source, anyone can easily search and access and build their own reports and dashboards. It makes it super simple for your employees, but you can also embed our technology in your portals or custom apps. So if you want to expose this to your partners, your customers, even they can analyze their data using the power of search. And it's a huge savings in terms of time on your IT and BI teams. And ultimately, what ThoughtSpot helps you do is answer that next question. I know you've all been there. You get that new shiny dashboard, that report that you've been waiting for, and you get that insight, and you're like, oh, there it is. I got it. Interesting. And then what happens? You have another question. And that whole cycle of waiting for that next report starts all over again. Now, with ThoughtSpot, you can ask a question, get an answer, have a thought, ask another question, get another answer, and actually get to a smarter decision faster than you ever could before. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, I'd encourage you to join some of the greatest companies in the world. Our customer base is fantastic, and see what search-driven analytics can do for your business. We're actually going to be over in the VIP lounge, the product. If you want to take a look and get a demo, I'd encourage you to do so. And my closing message is, don't BI, just search. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, so first question from Ellen, please.
So we all have a lot of BI tools at our disposal. You mentioned a couple of them. What's your sweet spot? Are you suggesting that we can get rid of our big tools and replace it with yours? Or is it a collaborative, multiple tool set?
Yeah, and so we work with a lot of the world's largest companies, and many of them have lots of BI tools, unfortunately. And anytime you've got a company where there's a lot of data and a lot of people that want faster access to data, whether it's kind of ad hoc question and answer, that's where we're a perfect fit. And so in some companies, we're sitting alongside like Tableau that I mentioned and some other bigger data science tools. And in some cases, some companies, we're their only data platform. And so in part of it depends, and it depends on the needs of the business. But anywhere you want an answer quickly and you're not getting it fast enough, that's a good place for us.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is there a limit to the number of or type of data sources that you can pull from? And as a follow-up, who are you finding who's usually responsible for the data integrity of those sources?
Okay, so we work with any kind of data source. We've got connectors, we've got white label Informatica under the hood of our product. So we integrate with any kind of data source that you can imagine, as long as there's some structure applied to it. We're a relational search engine, so while we do process some Hadoop data, there has to have some processing to structure it. But we can work with anything. We've got ODBC, JDBC connectors. Getting data into our product is not a challenge. So whatever you've got, we can handle. And then in terms of who manages it, it depends a lot on the company. It can be anything from a data analyst, because it's actually really not that hard to do, to a data engineering team, a BI team, analytics team, an IT team. It depends really on where the expertise lies in the company.
With ThoughtSpot, I see a shift in the roles and responsibilities of the big data teams. Who's driving adoption at your customers? Is it the big data team? Is it the business? Is it a combination?
Yeah, so we actually tend to work first with the IT teams, the BI teams, the analytics teams, depending on where they're structured, because I think a lot of them see the challenges that the traditional tools create for them, and so they become big champions of ours. They see how fast our system is, they see how it can be easier to deploy, faster to support, and so they actually become our champions. And then they tend to introduce us to lines of business where they're having the most pain, where they've got business people that are waiting the longest for answers, and they end up introducing us to the lines of business where it makes the most sense. So our champions usually start there, and then they spread out into the lines of business where they start to see the success and get access that they've never had before. All right.
Appreciate it. Nice job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to take the purple photo as well. Thank you, sir. Yep, right over here. Thank you, Scott. Okay, next, from Moogsoft, Mike Silvey. Come on up here, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks, Trace3. Hi, guys. So in the cloud, no one can hear you scream. Now, that sounds a little bit theatrical, but the reality is that if you're a DevOps operation or if you're an application support organization, the first thing you know about some kind of application impacting issue is when your end users call. The problem is we have no situation awareness about what's going on from our infrastructure below us. And most of the time, the issues are caused by the infrastructure, sorry folks, rather than the application. So that increases the MTTR, and that increases the number of actionable issues that operations folks have to deal with right across the silos. So Moogsoft's here to help. So we use algorithms to converge IT operations management and IT service management together in a seamless process. Moog automatically detects actionable issues that folks should work on much closer to the signal than the noise, and we massively reduce the time taken to the MTTR and massively reduce the number of actionable issues for support folks, mostly enabling you to be aware and act and resolve before the end users are impacted. That's a blank slide. Oops. Thank you. How do we do it? We do it with algorithms. So we've got 15 patents so far in pure research into analytics and real-time algorithms. The proof, though, is in the value our customers are generating. So HCL, for instance, have proven that for their application support teams, they've reduced the number of actionable tickets by at least 60%. Our friends at Deutsche Telekom, my German friends, like quantitative and qualitative measurement, they're able to detect issues up to over 4 hours earlier than their existing processes with traditional tools. And our friends at GoDaddy have rolled out 52 new geographies without changing Moog at all. So the system is pretty scalable, pretty agile. So we're proven in some very large customers, and we're proven in some modern, very complex use cases. So how do we work? I normally point at these, so it's kind of hard for me here. So we can take any event data in, and that's from APM tools, log messages from apps, right the way down to the infrastructure. The first thing we do is we have a range of algorithms that do noise reduction. So instead of using rules to reduce noise, our algorithms infer the value of the information coming in and automatically discards information that's noise. So we end up with a much reduced event stream coming to our anomaly detection algorithms. We can do typically 98 to 99% reduction at that noise filtering stage. So now we come to our second layer of algorithms, which are a range of unsupervised and supervised techniques. We're able to infer anomalies or features or things you should act to, again, close to the signal rather than the noise. Now we represent these, we call them situations, as clusters of alerts. So we might get a cluster of alerts that only contains application alerts. In that case, we'll notify the application team. One person comes into our virtual incident room, we call the situation room, and they go work on it. Or if we have a situation that contains alerts from multiple domains, like application, storage, database, we'll notify those 3 teams, one person from each team into the room, they're situation aware of each other, and the content of the clusters, the alerts, enables them to work out their relationship with that issue more quickly. So are they part of the calls? Are they part of the impact? We can allow access to tools like App Dynamics and things like that from the room, so instead of having to launch the tool separately and taking all the time there, we can compress that time. And because the situation room is social and collaborative, it changes human behavior. People document what they do in the room, unlike ticketing systems. So we dynamically build up knowledge articles of how people remediate issues. So when we infer a new situation in the future, we take that cluster of alerts and compare it to previous situations. And if there's any similarity, we present that previous knowledge to the room, again, further reducing the time to diagnose and remediate. We can link into existing trouble ticketing systems like ServiceNow and Remedy, link into chat systems like Slack and Cisco Spark, and if you've got remediation scripts, we can trigger those either via chat ops in the room or directly through automation. So what's Moogsoft's mission? Bringing joy to our customers. Early detection of application or service impacting issues, much reduced MTTR, much reduced number of actionable issues, and the ability to go agile both on your applications and on your infrastructure by industrializing the event ingestion. We do it all through a beautiful user experience which is available on the web and uniquely on mobile as well. Thank you very much. Now I'm really scared.
How How long does it typically take for the algorithms to learn the environment before it's really production ready?
So that's a really good question. So one of the core patterns we have is in a set of algorithms which are fully unsupervised. So those unsupervised techniques don't need to learn. They can tell you things straight away. There is a calibration stage where you do some noise reduction with that, but we can do things automatically without learning.
So for me, since many enterprises are utilizing tools like PagerDuty for on-call, how are your customers making the change to Moogsoft? Do you have API integrations for tools such as that, or are you focused on also replacing on-call tools with the monitoring tools?
Okay, so primarily we're all about automating workflow, making workflow much faster, and reducing that MTTR. So if you do already have an Xmatters or a PagerDuty in place, we can use that to notify. The problem people have with PagerDuty and Xmatters and even ServiceNow today is it creates too many tickets and too many notifications. We massively cut that down. In the future, we might go into notification. Today, we're focused on this MTTR reduction and resource reduction.
So I see where Moogsoft would be immediately beneficial for traditional IT applications. What's the level of effort to tool it for custom applications? Is this service engagement? Is this something we can do in-house? What's the complexity?
So we can take any kind of textual. So we're an event-based system and log message-based system, not a time series-based system. So any textual messages you have, we can consume natively. If they're standard formats, all we need is a timestamp, a UTC timestamp of some kind. We need a node name or identifier, and we need a description, and that's it. So application log files through to custom infrastructure we can take. So we've done telco customers, very large telcos like Deutsche Telekom, through to very large enterprise customers and others as well. So yeah, anything you like is where we fit. Thank you very much. Cheers, folks.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Great. Let me shake your hand. Great job, and I'll take that. You're welcome. Okay, see if you can guess what the next company is going to be. Just kidding. All right. From Exabeam, we have Rick Katcha. Rick, come on up here. Oh, you got your own. All right, nice. Great.
Hi, everyone. So at Exabeam, our mission is to provide security intelligence for today's world. The problem we solve is to detect threats on your network and to respond to them with limited resources. Now, CISOs today spend a ton of money on SIEM technology that's supposed to help with detection. They don't get any value from that because those products were built for a different time. Now, we started the company because we saw a need for an analytics-driven approach to threat detection. We felt that the correlation-based approach that SIEMs have just doesn't work anymore, and really is evidenced by the fact that if you look at the Magic Quadrant for SIEM, the leaders in this space have been around for a long time. The youngest of these products is 14 years old. It was built for a time before Hadoop, before the iPhone. These were built before Facebook, before the architecture that businesses run on today of cloud services, mobile first, and big data. So our analytics engine solves these problems and addresses all of this. We basically take all your data, we stitch it together into what we call stateful sessions. I'll talk about that in a sec. For every single user, employee, contractor you have, we create a baseline of normal behavior, and then as they do activity, we compare that activity to that baseline so we can figure out who's doing things that are unusual and risky. And when we detect that, we're then able to show it in a timeline and show you everything that happened, even as they switch accounts or devices, what was touched, so that your analysts know what they need to do next. Now, the stateful session I talked about sounds kind of wonky, but it's actually our secret sauce. No one else has it. It's very useful, and it's sort of core to our product. Let me talk about how it works. So on the left, I have Barbara in HR, one of our HR managers. She comes in, logs in using her Windows domain account, goes through, does her work. At some point during the day, she uses a DBA, database admin account, logs into a customer database with that account, downloads the database, goes back to doing her normal work with her normal account. Now, to every other security product that exists, these look like two different users doing two different normal days' work. There's Barbara doing Barbara stuff, and there's a DBA doing DBA stuff. Only Exabeam is able to hold state as she switches accounts and say, no, these aren't two users. This is one user using multiple accounts. We stitch it together into this, what we call a stateful session, and we're able to apply that to her baseline and say, hey, Barbara never has used this DBA account before. No one in HR has used it before. She's never accessed this database before. So suddenly, something that looked like normal behavior doesn't look normal at all. And when we talk to CISOs, we say, how long would it take you? How else would you be able to connect these dots within your environment? And if you had a breach, how long would it take your team to put those dots together and figure out what actually happened here? And if it sounds far-fetched, this happened in our first customer site with our first beta and our first install. We showed them this kind of data. Literally, an HR manager had gotten hacked, and they said, no, it's impossible. And when they finally saw the way we'd stitched the data together, they went pale because they saw they had a hacker who attached to 1,600 point-of-sale systems in their stores. So this stuff is super powerful. We've done a little over 150 enterprise-wide installs in the past 12 months. It's real. Kind of interesting quotes I like here from the global chief security architect at ADP. Your system just did in 5 seconds what normally takes my team 3 days to do, connecting those dots and putting the story together. Global security director at TD Ameritrade on Twitter. The more I talk to companies in the UBA space, the more I realize Exabeam is the only company with a working product. This space has been polluted with half-baked products that don't work. We spend a lot of time, more and more now, replacing failed analytics, behavioral analytics, security products. This is why people buy. First, compromised insider. This is the Target breach. It's the Anthem breach. It's a hacker on the network impersonating an employee using valid credentials. Second, insider threat, malicious insider, the Snowden breach. More recently, it's for incident response. It's I want to automate the best practices. So if you're concerned about compromised attacks, if you're concerned about malicious insiders, if you're struggling to hire, quote, ninjas, or you wonder why you need ninjas at all, I invite you to take a closer look at Exabeam. You can reach us at info@Exabeam. If you give us the vote, we'd be happy to do a bigger demo. But we see this as a real problem and a real solution in the area. With that, thank you.
Is Exabeam a black box solution, or can you tune it?
You can tune it. So I'd say one thing that's unique about the product is it's not just this general data science thing. We had specific use cases in mind. So there's pre-built rules, pre-built models, pre-built parsers for the kind of things like if you know you're doing a compromised insider, you know the kind of logs you need, you know the kind of models to apply. You plug it in, it's going to work, overnight. But people do tune it, and it's perfectly tunable. Okay.
How are you collecting the user profiles, and how often are you syncing that change to reflect changes like job changes to change from anomaly to regular?
Primarily through Active Directory, but if some people don't have it, so we had a customer that is all Mac, and they don't, they gave us some extract out of PeopleSoft. So we can do that. We can pull extracts whenever you want. Typically it's overnight, but it could be faster.
Did Exabeam help with the recent WannaCry ransomware exploits at your customer?
Say that again.
Did Exabeam help with the recent WannaCry ransomware exploits at your customer?
Great question. So a few months ago, we actually published a report on how ransomware unfolds. We built a set of rules so you could do signature-less sort of behavioral detection. So in fact, instead of looking at a user, we're looking at the behavior of system processes. So I can say, I've never seen this before, but it's behaving like other ransomware does, and we're not going to block it, but we can alert fast enough to shut it down. When you're on a single machine, it doesn't matter that much. When you're going over a network, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.